Howdy friends, thanks for stopping by my shop today. My name is Wes Lee. I opened my own shop and started a YouTube channel to show what life was like working on band instruments for a living. Thanks for stopping by. Today's project, we're going to be continuing from the video from the other day, that tenor sax that everybody was commenting on and asking about. Here's a video of the customer picking it up and playing it. That's a real player. Today we're going to be working more on that trombone that I was showing in the video the other day. So let's jump right on into that. All right, this is a vintage Conn 24H. Very cool silver plated instrument. It does have plated slides. I have already chemical flushed this, and we're going to be doing some slide work to it. Now, one thing I want to make note of, let's kind of zoom this in, is that, let's go again. We've got some wear spots, and you can see the scratches, and that is present on both slides down at the stockings. It's not uncommon. It's scratchy and rough and does affect the performance of the slide. It does happen over time. And what we're going to do is we're going to just buff this smooth and get off any high raised areas. And it should be good to go for quite a while longer. Up on this section, this looks like it's been repaired before. So that's the deal with the slide. It's pretty straight, and we're just gonna make it better. Yeah, it'll be good. The bell section is really pretty and in really nice shape. We have an area where the silver plating has come off here, as well as behind where the thumb would go. We've got some, let's zoom this in. We've got some dents throughout here. It just kind of peppered around the bell. And I know it's hard to see through the tarnish right now. So we're gonna go ahead and get this cleaned. I'm gonna put this in the Chem Flush and we'll get this all cleaned up. Normally I would go into the pink stuff as a tarnish remover, but I have another idea on this today. On these old bead blasted finishes, a lot of times people will make soap and water and use a brass wheel and bring that back, but I have something different in mind from that as well. So we're going to experiment. So let's see where this goes. Now the goal here is just to take out any kind of roughness from the spots that have lost the plating. This chrome plating, as it flakes off, always creates burrs because it's so much harder than the brass. So you want to make sure that you cradle the instrument good. Now we're going to get this buffing compound, any residuals of that, wiped off. Go ahead and check the street. Yep. bottom slide has quite a bit of bend in it. Almost there. It's a little bit at the time. Small gains. You could easily push right through and collapse the slide. You could push it the other way. You could put a deeper bend in it. That's not the objective here at all, right? I'd rather take small increments. And then we check. Yeah. As my friend Ramblin' Steve says, yeah. That feels good. Check the upper. Man, that's great. Man, yeah. The real tail is right here in playing position though. This is good. This is the real tail. Man, that feels nice. Knocking down those burrs makes all the difference. It really does. Now I'm going to take some cheesecloth and a rod. I'm going to clean the inside slides. So if you don't know how to do this, and you put the corner, so you put the corner of the cheesecloth through the loop, and then you make your loop come to the inside. For this one, let's start at 3 wraps. And then fold this in and cover up the steel all the way down. You want it tight enough where it cleans the side, but loose enough that it doesn't get stuck, right? Yeah, perfect. So you're not putting so much pressure on the instrument that you're binding or bending anything. Make very exacting motions. You want to be very deliberate with delivering. So not much trash, residual anything was in that. So we were already pretty good to go. And then we're going to check this again. And yeah, that's going to be really, really nice. Really nice. Our next order of operation is we're going to clean up the silver plate all the way down the slide tubes. I'm going to prep this area for a brush plate. And then I have to buff this area as well. We're gonna brush plate silver onto this. It's a new operation that I picked up. Brush plating is the same style of operation that you would have for your silver plating. However, in a brush plating, it's exactly the way it sounds. The plating is applied to the part instead of the part going into the solution. Sometimes I buff these, but sometimes I like to use this. This is Wright's wipe on silver polish, and it really does a pretty fine job. We're going to see how it does on this black. The other thing I like to do is hand rag them. Some folks will make a soap bark. So they take soap and water and then they use a brass wheel to buff, and that is a nice thing. But on these old brush finishes, I really find that the roughness of the cotton on the red shop rag does a beautiful job on these silvers. And no matter what, you have to use a tarnish prevent. You know, you have to seal your patina, right? Or else it's just gonna turn right back. I also do not follow the directions. I don't let it dry on. It's a big mess to me. Now you'll notice that I am using an expander. However, it's not tight. And I've actually put it all the way in. It's under this ferrule. Now, if you have a bright silver plate, like a modern silver plate, which is just a mirror finish, then you cannot do this operation. You can't use a red rag on something like that because it will just scratch it up. So you have to know what kind of finishes that you're dealing with. So this came out really nice. And I like doing it by hand because I know the age of the instrument and I can see where plating is getting thin. And with a machine, it's harder to control. I mean, even with good control, it's harder to control. Now you notice I didn't really do anything in this area because I am going to use the machine and rough this out or smooth it down. I'm going to use a rough cut, but I'm going to smooth this down, and then I'm going to come back with a brass wheel on something and kind of blend it to the same style as the rest, and before I brush plate it. So that's my next operation. I'm going to use a Dremel with a wire wheel on it, and I want to go around to all these areas that I buff because a buffing machine makes things smooth. And I want to try to blend my texture in with the texture that was on the instrument. All right, now we're getting close to it now. Make sure that any kind of debris or grease, residue of any kind, you have to make sure you get all that off. It's one thing that I've learned. I'm still a novice to the plating game. It's been an interesting rabbit hole to go down, that's for sure. And just like when you're overhauling an instrument, getting it ready for lacquer, when you think you have it degreased and clean and degreased and clean, you know what you do? You degrease it again. There we go. I think I'm going to do this half first, and then I'll flip and do the other half. Now this is a time process, right? It's the amount of time equals the amount of plating that you're going to build up. So I'm not going to make you sit here and suffer through, although this is like magic. This is really cool stuff. Okay, I've got it done. I've got it, the solution neutralized. And now I'm just going to buff it out. Okay, here are our results. So that looks pretty tremendous. You cannot get rid of all of this. If you do, you'll thin the metal out so much. So that's never the goal. To smooth it, get it where you can. Man, resurrection, just gotta love it. So here's after I wire brush it, I'm happy with the finish that's gonna have on it. And now we're gonna put it in the basket and put the parts in the ultrasonic cleaner, and then I'll set up the plating rig. If you'd have ever asked me if I was going to have an ultrasonic cleaner, I would say, well, I'll probably have one someday. And now I have 3. All right, let's get this guy. This one is just dedicated for plating, cleaning of plating for small parts. They're invaluable for that. I think that's going to be all right. Tenon done. So here's our results. It came out very, very nice. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing with the upper inner slide. I'm going to get this buffed, wire brushed, cleaned, brush plated. So I'll take care of that. I've got the slide ring going in the ultrasonic. And after I finish these parts, we'll be back on the bell. Another formula that you will see me use quite often is Haggerty's. I really like Haggerty's as well. This is really turning out to be a beautiful instrument. I'll take over that. Boom. That's when the shine really starts coming on. You've got your tarnish preventative on, and then you come back for this final buffing with your silver polish cloth. It's not gonna tarnish again so fast. That's what the horn's gonna look like. Man, it's gonna be beautiful. Now I think what we're gonna do from here, solder the tenon and new ring back into place. And I think we'll go ahead and I'll clean this, put the tuning slide back in so the tuning slide is lined up, and then this, we'll get this lined up. So all of this will be back to where it's supposed to be. And then we'll worry about the little extra plating that we're going to do here and here. So I think we'll get the horn square and then we'll take care of the other stuff. So you can certainly see how it's going to pop when the horn comes back together. I'm going to use low temperature silver solder for this operation. The reason that I'm going to do that is because it hardens, is a bright, doesn't turn a dull gray. So it looks better on silver plate. Well, we've got our new part installed. Looks good, solder joint looks good, real clean. From here, we're gonna go ahead and do a preliminary polish. Then I'll get these dents out, take care of the bell dents, and our final step will be redoing some of the plating. Now you can see all those dents that I was talking about. See? It's just riddled with lots of little dents all the way around. And so that's what we're going to go after. We're going to go all these hunting pecks. Hunting pecks. Seek and destroys, or Ernie says, laying pipe. Get your favorite song going. It's time to do some dent work. Whenever I'm thinking about dent work on these, and I'm removing all of these dents, I always, especially on vintage horns, think about, gosh, how many gigs has this horn been on? You know, how many stages has it seen? These are like little stand dents. This instrument belongs to a player. He's looking forward to getting it back so he can perform old jazz and things. He's got a circuit of jobs that he plays. I think that's super cool. And for the style of music that he told me about, this is like the perfect horn for that. So it's going to be awesome to see it back into his hands. One thing I really like about these rounded nose rollers is that when you're in the stem, you can use them the same way that you would a mandrel. It really helps with some of the punches. If you get a tapered mandrel and you use a small one, it punches too much. It makes too much of a mark, or leaves you having to go and do burnish work. You have to be careful. You don't want the bell to hit into the vise. That creates a whole new set of issues. I'm going to smooth this out and then wire brush it. And I'm going to smooth this out and wire brush it. And then I'm going to do that same brush plating technique on those. And then I'll go to final polish on the bell. So we're entering the home stretch. Final polishing here. Oh, I need to go get some, my polishing gloves. Here's our results. Beautiful project. Well, thanks everybody for joining me today on this beautiful resurrection. Hugh Garraway gave me that term, and I really like that. Musical resurrection. That's a cool one. This horn came out just stunning. I love it. It looks great. The client's going to be super thrilled. I can't wait to text pictures to him. Really, really pleased. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for hanging out in my shop today. I really appreciate it. Hope you picked up some tips and tricks. It was cool doing that brush plating and immersion plating, wasn't it? It's been the second or third episode that we've done stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. I really like doing that. So it's probably going to become more of a staple thing that I do now, getting my head wrapped around it. I appreciate the comments. Appreciate the shares. I'll see you next time around. This is Wes Lee signing out.